Sonic Garden Radio Live. How do you do today? April 14th, Tuesday.
Trod the hard road, my heart drains. It's only love Rastafari brings. Trod the hard road, my sister. Will you wait for me near the end?
And here we are, mAng and Neads Show, Sonic Gardens Radio. Welcome, everybody. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so if anybody out there just tuning in, listening for the first time, if you could subscribe. All you revisitors, people that are already subscribed, thank you so much for the support, and, happy to be here.
It's a happy day.
Make the best of it. So, Josh,
What's going on, bud?
tell me how you doing, man.
I'm doing pretty good out here
Yeah?
so far.
Contained?
Yeah.
Keeping contained?
Oh, yeah. What are we listening to?
We are listening to another Chaka rehearsal. This
What?
one is of the song Trod the Hard Road. Good version, man. We jammed it right out. Pretty good harmonies going on there.
I don't know if I ever had the pleasure of hearing this one.
Too much, I'm smoking, I'm drinking. Stay a while, baby, please don't rush. Make the most, cause last time is really made up of. Try the hard road, my heart drains. Yes, it's only love Rastafari bring. Try the hard road, my sister, yeah. Will you wait for me near the end?
Yeah, man, that's it. So, once again, thanks for joining, everybody. We're following on our 30th day of our Central New York quarantine here at Sonic Gardens Radio, doing the mAng and Neads Show. This is our 30th broadcast. 30 days, 30 broadcasts, and, here we are again. Here we are again. Me and the Needs.
I can't hear
Go
you.
for
really,
it. Oh, I got you turned up. I'm probably down low on your end. Or
Yeah,
something. Sorry, I had the music cranked.
I couldn't hear what you were. I heard
All right.
like you were whispering to me, kind of creepy.
Yeah, I had your music cranked right up. So
No, I could just every little second I hear something, but yeah. I
think we're
staring off into space again though. But yeah, here we are.
same with you. You're a little soft here on the
Yeah, I guess
mix.
soft voice. This is the ladies'
All
tone.
right. Yeah. So
So
yeah, what's our latest, man?
oh, we just surpassed 2,000 deaths.
There you go. Jeez, now that's funny because your
Sorry,
soft
Ange.
voice just totally changed the whole thing, and you started yelling.
Oh,
Trying
because I got like,
to excited, didn't
well, I amped up
you?
because they keep talking all this bullshit, and we just passed 2,000 deaths again.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Yesterday was at
1,500.
yeah,
It looked like a drop, but
So
we're
we-
up to 2,000 now.
2031. We're 4 away from being exactly 500 more deaths than we were yesterday. So
Already.
96 more deaths today, I'd say, than yesterday.
We are less than 12,000 cases away from 2 million worldwide. Still hanging at the 4% of the open cases are serious or critical. And
Yeah, it's 12,829 critical today, or serious, and yesterday was 12,772. So Yeah, great.
Still running on that 21% of the closed cases are deaths. And there are 1,396,000 open cases.
Yeah.
Getting the yawns so early in the show already.
I know, man.
You're just so comfy with all the music we play for you.
Yeah. You get me.
Get you comfortable.
Who's the original singer of that song?
Oh, man.
Oh, you don't know? It's all right.
Shit.
I don't
know.
either.
Maybe if somebody wants to let me know. Trod the Hard Road. Maybe if one of the bandmates are out there.
Well, I mean,
chose this one, but I get them all mixed up, you know.
What's it called? Trod the Hard Road?
Trod the Hard Road.
Oh, boy. I mean, I'd never heard it. I don't even think I've even heard you guys do it. Sounds good, though.
Yeah, we don't.
You guys do it.
It's one of those that we haven't. Well, it's like a backup kind of, and we're still working on some of the aspects of it. But
you haven't really played it out much, or ever.
Yeah, not too much. It's like one of those that's like sometimes, you know, like this jam here was epic. But then other times we play it and it just doesn't receive as well. Like we're and I'm not sure, you know.
Huh. It's not ready yet.
Give you guys one more little 30-second clip.
All right.
And
It's
there
the
you
green.
go.
It's the green.
It's the Green.
That's so.
Oh, that's the name of the band?
Yeah.
The Green.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all. Interesting.
So
Guess we give the right props.
that's
out
another
there.
one of them. Those bands. I used to listen to them like their first or like their demo and then they had and then I think their album after that. They had some pretty good songs on that, but then they let out another album and they changed their stuff up a bit. So I quit listening to them. But yeah, I didn't know they sing this song. Now I know.
Now you know.
Yeah, you guys. I haven't, like I said, I haven't heard their version, but I would assume yours is better because I know that band.
Well, you know, it's their tune.
Yeah, but that don't always mean stuff.
But we definitely have a group, something that is that's special to a band where
Reggae
you know,
jam band.
Well, it's you know, everybody in our band has like a you know, input that makes it not just based around one fella or one instrument or something, you know.
Right.
Of course, it helps that we have the Jimi Hendrix of keyboards, Mr. Christopher, on the keyboards, and so the rest of us, if we can hold down our
the great and knowledgeable
down a rhythm and the licks, then that guy just rips it up and takes it into another level. But you know, it's like when you play pool with people that are really talented, it kind of ups your game a little bit, you know. So all around is when you have like that awesome vibe, we're able to bounce off each other, and it just makes everybody better musicians, and just as a group, it's pretty awesome. The feeling of it.
The old pool player.
So yeah, man.
I'm not much of a pool player.
I guess that's just my
No, I.
my
about
like a
yourself?
small comparison of
How about
like
yourself?
anything,
Do you do
Um,
you compete with your dad?
it's funny.
Can you beat your
No,
dad?
man, it's funny because I'm not like I mean, I can't say that I'm that good because I don't practice enough. But there's something about
Your dad's good though, right?
my dad's pretty good. He plays all the time. But
Got his own table.
but for me, it's like it's part of my like anxiety or something. I can't settle down with pool. It's like
Yeah.
as much, and it's funny because I think about a lot of things like that, like what is fun to me. And I realized that just recently I was like, playing board games. We're in all this quarantine stuff, and it's like, board
You and
game
your son?
or like cards. Yeah, cards and like cards, same thing. It's like it can be fun. The excitement of cards comes from the gambling aspect of it, right? So like when there's money on the table, then
Right,
it's
it's
like
way
it's
fun.
exciting. If there's
Yeah.
no money on the table, it's just like blah blah. What does it matter?
Well,
cares?
right, because like
I
when
mean,
you're
you can, work on your ability to factor in.
or when you're
things
younger, you like beating people, so that's your
right? Okay.
when you're real. You know what I mean? When like you're a
Yeah.
kid or like early teens, you get joy out of beating people at games.
Right.
Um,
And the most amazing, like cards. Okay, so like say like Texas Hold'em or even any form
yeah,
of poker.
tell us about cards.
Any form of poker. Like there's that moment when you like say you're looking to get like you just literally you need a king, so your brain just starts going like king, 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 king,
Right.
and then boom, it hits, and it gives you this like power, like you have like the ability to force the card to come up. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's like a certain delirium probably that comes with like playing cards that makes it like an addictive thing too. But you know what I'm saying, right? You enjoy your Texas Hold'em matches in your times and
Yeah, I'm yes. I'm more of a low card player.
low card player.
Yeah, like I'm 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm more of a. I've got more of thoughts on straights than I do anything else.
Okay.
I fold pairs a lot. Like I don't feel comfortable ever holding on to pairs.
Yeah.
Like even like ace. Like when I get aces and stuff. I also like.
It's especially
I
that
get
game.
real comfortable too. Like if there's 6 of us at a table and they all stay in and I have 2 low cards, because I feel real comfortable then because you know what I mean. Like
you're the underdog kind.
well, they that they have a high card in their hand most definitely,
and they think that
or
yeah,
pairs.
they think that's gonna take it.
Right, and then they get bet and it's just the odds start turning a little bit because if they all have face cards and there's 6 of them, so yeah, I don't know. I've always not had a problem hanging out with low cards, man. I like it a lot.
So there's a certain excitement, obviously, strategy and things you think about when you're playing that game, and obviously when money's involved, it makes it a lot more fun. But I guess what I was getting at is what I found that something that it really does excite me, at least for a little bit of something I can sit, I without the money aspect, I don't think I could do it like all night long. But craps, I am just a huge fan of dice,
rolling dice,
and the odds of what you're gonna roll. And I don't know, it just
I've only done
some
that
people
a couple times.
find that game complicated, but really once you just learn, once you just get the basics of it, it's just like anything else. There's just so much to it. I mean, the thing that changes are different odds on different numbers, and so it can be confusing in a casino, but man, that is the most exciting game all around. And I find myself even like at home just playing a simple craps, just shooting for a number is pretty awesome. It's pretty cool, man.
Huh. Yeah, I've only played a couple times.
I think like the one-on-one.
Not for money though.
Right. So the one-on-one way to play it is you roll the dice and whatever number you hit, which it's not all the there's craps, and other dice that add up that don't equal, that aren't a number, you know. So the only numbers are 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10. So anything else on a dice isn't. But basically, if you hit any of those numbers, what you're trying to do is just hit that number again before you hit a 7. And so, because a 7 is the most combinations of the dice, you know, every number on the dice will add up to a 7. You know what I mean? Like if a 6 and a 1, a 5 and a 2, 4 and a 3, you know. So, but it's not like that with like a 10. Like if there's a 1, then there's no way you're getting a 10. Right. You know what I mean? Like, so there's how odds work, where it's like if you consistently roll the dice, then out of 100 rolls, the majority of those rolls are going to be 7s based on, you know, the odds.
Huh.
And that's why it's such a hard game. So, yeah. That's why it's such a hard, I mean, that's why the house takes the 7 bet, because they're just like, yeah, you're going to hit a 7 before you hit that 10 again. You're going to hit a 7 before you hit that 6 again. You know, whatever the number is. So it's exciting because it's also the only like casino game where everybody at the table can gang up on the house. And so by that I mean, like, you know, everybody's playing against the house, nobody's playing against each other, but at the same time you can root on the other guy and you're betting on the other guy, so it requires you to care about what the other guy's doing. So in that sense, if you fill up a craps table and everybody's against the house, you get this like energy. So it's like, I guess what I'm getting at is the same as that feeling like you can control the card that is drawn in a card game. I feel like when you get a group of people together, you can control the way the dice roll. And it's the weirdest thing. Like there's these certain rules, like if the dice go off the table for some reason, then it's like almost the game stops, and the dealer or the dealers, they have to, like, in the cage, you know, they have to like check the dice to make sure it's not, you know, somebody didn't switch it when it hit the ground and, hey, here's the dice, it gave you a fake one, you know what I mean? So they inspect it, but typically they'll give you a new dice, right? They'll give you a different die than the one that went on the ground. And there's something about that situation that happens that it kills the momentum of the table. And again, if you were to really evaluate, when the dice goes off the table, the next roll is very likely to be a 7. And there's no real, it doesn't really make sense, but it does if you witness it enough times. You're like, what happened, you know? It's like as soon as that momentum stopped and everybody stopped cheering and there weren't any, you know, bets happening and they had to reshuffle the dice, and all of a sudden it's like, boom.
7s happen
7.
a lot, huh?
Well, 7's the most common.
6 and 1, 5 and 2.
Like I just explained, but then you got, like, say an 8, right?
Right.
So if you got a 3 on a dice, on a die, you're not going to get an 8, right? Or no, you are still, actually. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
5, but there's certain ones like
3, 4,
1. Yeah, 1.
1
isn't going to get it. So no, 1 and 6 is only a 7.
Right.
So you're not going to be able to get an 8 if you roll a 1
right.
on one of the dice.
Right.
But if you, so you know, it like limits the way it is. Yeah.
Huh.
It's like a little short lesson in craps. There's a little more
I don't
to
know
it.
shit about it.
But it's a fun game to play. I actually have the rollout, like the felt rollout that has like all the odds, just like at the actual tables you see. Yeah.
Huh. All right.
Sorry, I had to cough.
Yeah. Setting in early onset.
Yeah, early symptoms.
Who do you think?
Yeah. So what else? I had some. I don't know. What else?
Oh.
What do you think about that?
About the dice?
No, I don't know. I mean, I just was kind of rambling about that. So yeah, you don't have to talk about the dice. Anything, whatever. There was you were telling me about this.
What was I telling you?
This propaganda video.
Oh.
There was a propaganda video in the middle.
In the middle of a coronavirus.
Of the coronavirus briefing.
Yeah, trying to. Well, we'll play it in a minute. He was trying. The great Donald Trump, our president, United States.
Yeah, man.
He was trying to tell us how he's done a great job with this pandemic, and I guess he was trying to make it sound good that only 25,794 Americans have died. So he was trying to spin it as that he's done a good job since 100,000 haven't died, and that's what kind of was predicted on their models and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, play the video for these people. Watch this video.
All right.
It's
hopefully,
that will be fine.
Yeah,
these are
the news, right?
Yeah, it's just a news flash.
I don't think they care unless
no, they don't care. They're trying
people are watching. So hey, make this thing big.
Yeah, your boy Ari was on there ripping it apart.
He ain't my boy.
Oh, I mean, my father watches him.
Oh, this is a C-SPAN video.
Oh, it is.
I should grab it from them.
Yeah, just play it.
All right.
Fine. It's like, because it's like secondary on the goddamn next to the phone.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. So here we go. Let's see what this thing's all about.
All right.
Oops.
Uh-oh. Neads Show.
But the reality is, comparing it to the flu, for example, it's not even close to being at that stage.
What if it is worse? Is this a moment where maybe countries put politics aside, a little bit of pride aside, and do we have U.S. officials? Should U.S. professionals such as yourself get involved?
How worried should Americans be about coronavirus?
Coronavirus is not going to cause a major issue in the United States.
Is it playing?
Yeah, well, President Trump took decisive action.
I can't hear it.
Well, we've asked them to accelerate whatever they're doing in terms of a vaccine.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency. Medicare patients can now visit any doctor by phone or video conference at no additional cost.
The first 1 million masks will be available immediately.
Even as partisans sniped and criticized.
As there were more cases, and it was clear that it was spreading out of China, where it originated. The president took this move that he was widely criticized for by Democrats and even some Republicans at the time, which was he halted a number of flights from China into the U.S. The idea was to halt the spread of the disease, keep transmissions to a minimum. He was accused of xenophobia. He was accused of making a racist move. At the end of the day, it was probably effective because it did actually take a pretty aggressive measure against the spread of the virus.
Except for it came from fucking European country.
Oh my God, the way
This team is on it. They've been responsive late at night, early in the morning, and they've thus far been doing everything that they can do, and I want to say thank you, and I want to say that I appreciate it.
He returns calls, he reaches out, he's been proactive. We got that Mercy ship down here in Los Angeles. That was directly because he sent it down here, 2,000 medical
His green screen ain't so great either, man.
No.
Gavin Newsom.
These field medical stations, and that's been very, very helpful.
The president has been
outstanding through all this. The vice president's been outstanding. Members of the coronavirus task force, very responsive.
We had asked if we could have, New Jersey could have access to a piece of the beds that are on the USNS Comfort, and the president came back, called me a few minutes before I walked in here to say indeed they would grant that to New Jersey. So that's a big step for us in addition to all the other capacity. That news is literally hot off the press. And I thank the president and vice president who are on the call together.
President Trump approved Arizona's request for a presidential major disaster declaration. I want to thank the president for a quick turnaround. We requested this on a Wednesday, and we had approval by Saturday morning. And we are grateful to the administration for their continued support and responsiveness.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the president and the vice president for doing a really good job of communicating with us.
Oh, man, I don't know.
What?
Okay, it's over.
So we could give you hundreds of clips.
Hundreds
like
of
We
clips.
could give you hundreds of clips. Well, I'm going to pull up a clip then while we're hot on the trail here.
What are we doing?
And, well, I'm not even pulling up a clip. I'm actually just going to read some statements.
He's a reader, folks.
We didn't want this to go on too long.
Yeah, what a crazy.
Man. Imagine if this was 1965 and it was Good Friday and they shot Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, Jesus.
It was this day.
Is that what happened?
It is, Angelo. It's a terrible day in history.
In 1865.
That's what I said.
Oh, yeah. I was like, 1965?
No, not 19. No,
what?
He would have been old.
Yeah.
Real.
So, yeah.
He didn't die right away, though.
So, man, that's just like, it's crazy because here's how I see it, is that all the arguments, it's like as time goes by, it's hard to keep track of when what was said. So if you get a clip of him saying, shut this down, or that I'm banning this, until you put into perspective when it was, you can't, you just can't, you can't take any like credit for that being positive unless it was like, because if it was a month after. So anyway, that kind of leads to what I was noticing was that, okay, so first I got a Donald Trump tweet. This one is about about reopening the economy. And and it's just the wording to me is what makes, like, he could have done this anyway to not sound like I don't even know. You know how many times I deleted things because I read it back to myself and I said, that sounds super arrogant when I'm not trying to be arrogant,
Right.
But he doesn't have a filter. He doesn't like go back and say that he used this word, even things even like things describing the garden, in the studio. Like, I don't like to say my studio, I did this, it's mine, my work. I always credit the place to us and our, because it's a collective thing, and it seems to me that we're entering into a world where to brag about the accomplishments as my own
or
is somehow respected, right? Yeah. Instead of giving credit to everybody, like a UFC fighter that doesn't give any credit to his camp. It's
right.
like, that is arrogance.
But they thank God, though.
Right.
Seriously. Some talented son of a bitch that worked his whole life to become that awesome, they always give most of the credit to God. Seriously. Like, you always hear him do it. There's a few that don't.
Yeah, that's kind of that's a slight arrogance, but it's also the attempt to be thankful. So, like, I kind of get that one. It's right, showing a humbleness by saying, it's not me, it's, I give it to the creator. But yeah, like,
you worked your ass off, though. You know what I mean? You busted to become a professional athlete.
Yeah, but I imagine in some cases they look back at some point in their life and they say to themselves, and they could be full of shit. They could just be like, oh, that's what my favorite athlete said growing up. So right. I'm going to say the same thing. But in other cases, it's people that really are able to look at what they have how lucky they are.
Right.
Like they're like, okay, look at for example, the story of the guy, the GOAT, the basketball player. Remember that? The guy that could he would bet people, put money up on top of the top part of the basketball rim, the backboard. And this was like an early basketball in the city. I know that there were other guys that went on to be big stars from the same neighborhood.
Right.
As this guy, the GOAT. You never heard of it? There was a really cool movie about it, but it basically he was a guy, he basically got hooked on the crack, man. Oh. And it fucked his whole life up. And it was one of those things where he was in jail, and one of the prison guards came to him and said, "Will you sign this book?" And he didn't really get it, and it was because there was a passage about how awesome he was in there. And the dude in the GOAT there in jail didn't even realize that all those dreams are over. He was sitting there thinking, yeah, as soon as I get out of here, I'm gonna go start playing again, and I'll be pro in no time. And meanwhile, all the guys he grew up with, they are going pro. And they're I would think that you might know who I'm talking about.
Huh.
We
need a name.
I'll get you a thing on it in a minute. Huh. Maybe I'll do it on song break. I'll pull up that info.
Oh yeah.
But hey, man. So back to what I'm saying is what I was trying to say is that so those same guys that know that there was talent all around them and people that easily could have been, professional NBA guys that threw it away because of choices they made. And I guess that's what I'm saying. So if they're authentic and they're giving the praise to God, it's because whatever it was in their life that allowed them to succeed. They're giving credit to that. So,
right.
So I respect that. If they're just doing it because it's what everybody else does, then that's kind of lame.
Huh. Yeah.
So I'm gonna read this. It's just every day, everything this guy says, we could really read his tweets, and I just don't understand, man. But anyway, here we go. So this was April 13th, 2020, from Donald J. Trump. For the purpose of creating conflict and confusion, some in the fake news media are saying that it is the governor's decision to open up the states, not that of the President of the United States and the federal government. Let it be fully understood that this is incorrect. It is the decision of the president, and for many good reasons. With that being said, the administration and I are working closely with the governors, and this will continue. A decision by me, in conjunction with the governors and input from others, will be made shortly! ! Excuse me. I got a little scratch in my throat.
Yeah, but you do?
I should probably get a drink.
You should probably get a test.
And just in case anybody's there was if anybody remembers a guy named Jonathan Turley, who Turley was the guy that got up and said that there was no quid pro quo of the 4 judges that were on the panel. He was the one that said no quid pro quo. But as far as reopening the economy, Jonathan Turley did not stand behind the president on this one, and he said, as a constitutional law professor at George Washington, he has nothing beyond persuasive authority on opening up the country. This is a state issue. As I have said, he has persuasive, not command authority. So, but you can't tell him that.
Huh. He doesn't have any authority. 10th Amendment, man. Oh yeah.
So, yeah, that was about it that I wanted to say on that. But there was another, and this is back to that what we just saw in that press briefing. So the National Security Council office responsible for tracking pandemics received intelligence reports in early January predicting the spread of the virus to the United States, and within weeks was raising options like keeping Americans home from work and shutting down cities the size of Chicago. Mr. Trump would avoid such steps until March. So that's just in response to him saying how great his response was.
Right.
Despite Mr. Trump's denial, weeks later, he was told at the time about a January 29 memo produced by his trade advisor, Peter Navarro.
Ooh, Peter.
Do you guys remember him?
Sneaky Pete.
Laying out in striking detail the potential risk of a coronavirus pandemic, as many as 500,000 deaths and trillions of dollars in economic losses. And just remember, this is his trade advisor that wanted to say this.
He's a snake in the grass, that guy.
During one task force meeting in the Situation Room last month, excuse me.
Okay, man?
Trump turned to Fauci and challenged him.
Now I'm getting worried.
It was the day of the administration was adding Ireland and the United Kingdom to its travel restrictions, and Trump wanted to understand why talk of herd immunity, allowing the coronavirus to sweep a nation largely unchecked with the belief that those who survived would then be immune, was such a bad idea. Why? And this was the quote, according to, this is a Washington Post report, so I'm not sure.
That's not. He don't like Washington Post.
No, he doesn't.
He don't like.
But the quote from the insiders is, "Why don't we let this wash over the country?" Trump asked, according to two people familiar with his comments, a question other administration officials say he has raised repeatedly in the Oval Office. Fauci initially seemed confused by the term wash over, but became alarmed once he understood what Trump was asking. Mr. Trump, Fauci said, Mr. President, many people would die. So, pretty much explaining why a wash over was not a good idea for the great. Why don't we just let the, communism wash us over? Why don't we just let the,
he made
everything.
Fauci come out and apologize or say that he said wrong on his interview the day before. Sunday.
Really?
Oh,
which was
yeah.
said wrong exactly what?
He, well, you're going to have to play that. He came out on Jake Tapper in the morning. I think it was Sunday. Yesterday was Monday. No, yesterday was Tuesday. So Monday.
Yeah, Jake pressed about some things.
Fauci, and then yesterday when Trump came out, he had Fauci come out there and say that he misunderstood the question, and that's why he said what he said, or something.
Of course.
Like that. Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, I guess it sounds like he made Fauci do that, but I don't know for sure if he did. Maybe. But I doubt Fauci would just come out. He seems like a really brilliant man. It doesn't seem like he'd just come out and say something that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe,
I believe
I doubt it.
I think I did see that though, and it was that he was I believe it was just about reopening and how that wasn't likely.
Right. There's a bunch.
They don't know enough. Second wave in the fall. Potential if we reopen.
Before the fall. We reopen.
Yikes.
Ow. That hurt my head. Well,
I guess we should play a tune.
What are you going to play?
That's what we do.
What do you got?
That's what we do here on Sonic Gardens Radio, mAng and Neads Show. Please subscribe, hit that like button, and call-in number. That's right, 607-373-HEAT. Anybody wants to call in, give us a little input, some data, we would be happy to talk with you.
We like data too. Wasn't he
Data from Star Trek?
Oh, is that where he was? Star Trek?
I think so, right?
Oh, I was thinking of Goonies, but that was Ideal or Idea.
Oh wait, what was that? Oh yeah, you're right. He was the he had all the booby traps. Remember
Yeah.
booby traps?
Booby trap. He had the grease shoes, right? Or oil shoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Goonies.
His dad was an inventor
Yeah.
with like silly inventions.
Right. He was. Silly invention. What song are you playing for?
I was just yeah, I'm pulling something up from the old dealio. From the Take One Sessions, Sonic Gardens Radio.
Take one.
Man, I think it's I think we might as well give him Beaver Meadow, man. I love playing Beaver Meadow on our show.
Right.
Like I said, radio. So,
Rodeo.
ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Sonic Gardens Radio. This is the mAng and Neads Show, and
Yes.
today is Tuesday.
It is.
Yeah,
Tomorrow's
4/14.
Yep. 2020.
And all right, we'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Enjoy this tune from Pep and Jeff playing with me and Christopher in the old Sonic Garden studio performing the song.
Chris.
I've been up on Porcelain Ridge early in the morning. I've been down on the avenue late at night. But the time I remember most of all, my darling, was the time that I spent with you that night. I left my heart in Beaver Meadows. I left my heart up Beaver Meadows. I left my heart in Beaver Meadows. I've been up Buckley Hollow in the springtime. I've been stoned up at the quarry in the fall. But the time that I spent with you up Beaver Meadows, and it be the greatest time of them all. I left my heart in Beaver Meadows. I left my heart in Beaver Meadows. I left my heart up in Beaver Meadows. Beaver Meadows. Beaver Meadows.
And we're back.
Sonic Garden.
Sonic Gardens Radio.
That one's called Beaver Meadow.
Right there, you guys just got a sweet shot of Pep and Jeff when they were young men on the old screen.
Back in the day.
There's some great guys, man. They've been playing music in, man, since the 50s, these guys. Since they were little boys.
Little boys in the hood. Always up to no good. Tell me. Tell me more.
Tell you more. Tell you more, I guess, if we just get back to...
oh, boy.
I don't know, man.
1,990,097 worldwide cases.
66,000 new cases today.
Oh man! Did you know 466,948 people have recovered from coronavirus?
I didn't.
Oh well. 125,859 have died. So now you know. No one's half the battle.
G.I. Joe?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the smartest things they ever said on that. Or he said.
That was the line. Knowing is half the battle.
Right?
What was it knowing, though? What did they know? That they were like...
No, knowing. Like, if you know, I don't know.
Well, I'm saying, like, in the...
You watched that show more than I did.
Well, that's why I'm kind of... I've thought about that, like, because that line, you know? And
yeah,
now
I
you
use
know,
it often.
knowing is half... Like, because
is.
it's one of those stuck in your head, like a song lyric. And you kind of think about it now that we're older, and you're like, what?
Did he know?
Like, what did they know?
Was he was a GI. He knew.
But was it...
He knew special... He knew everything. Like, he knew how to fight, right?
Was it more like knowing that there were this, like, the terrorist Cobra Commander and these, like, evil... are they aliens? Or, like, are they just,
I don't
like,
know, man.
evil guys?
Deep.
That's what I'm saying.
Uh-oh.
All right, we got a call here.
Oh, boy.
Let's see. Oh, my gosh. It is our very own. We haven't heard from this guy in a couple days. We're going to see what's up.
Oh, ball bag Magoo.
You are live on the mAng and Neads Show.
What's up, buddy?
Oh,
hey, look who we got here.
Oh, man.
I'm still listening to Beaver Meadow. I never realized that was a local song.
Oh,
yeah, man.
Buckley Hollow.
Beaver Meadow.
Well.
Yeah, the opening line.
Can he hear me?
I can hear you in the background.
Oh, wait. Hold on a second.
Oh, wait.
Here.
Oh, wait.
Let me get my monitor appropriate.
All right.
Wait, Josh, talk.
Hey.
Hello, testing.
Get your shit together.
Testing, 1, 2.
Testing.
Yeah, we're here.
Get your shit together.
Yeah, Beaver Meadow. There's some cool lines in there that are
he didn't know about
like,
that
because you got the Porcelain Ridge early in the morning. You know where Porcelain Ridge is.
Yeah.
The shitter.
In your bathroom.
Yeah, and then he says,
I'm up at the quarry.
Yeah, I was
down on Lackawanna. You know, Lackawanna Avenue.
The gut.
In Norwich. That's the OK Corral. Now Rita's. And then, what else did he say? Gets stoned up at the quarry in the fall.
Yeah.
It's pretty good
right
stuff.
before that, he said, I've been something up in Buckley Hollow in the springtime.
Yeah.
Buckley Hollow, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. In the springtime. He's naming all the great places in the county to be.
Out there in Oxford.
But his
Speaking
favorite.
about great places in the county, great places in the country, Josh has got his backdrop of, what is it called? Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, man. We pulled that out yesterday for his.
Do you see how I'm the fourth head?
He took that photo? Josh, you took that photo?
Yeah,
I did.
That's a ooh-ah photo. It's beautiful.
Hey, Josh. Hey, Josh.
I had a question for you, though.
Jeez, you got the coughs now, too.
I had a question for you, Warner. So is it always tradition that when in Oxford, when they do a senior skip day, is it always all male senior skip day?
Oh, no, that's just some of my friends from senior skip day. I was trying to come up with a joke.
Yeah. I didn't comment.
It was like, there's girls in there. You just need to shave some of them and put on lipstick.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't say anything because I didn't want to have to.
No, that was so we're all standing, there's 4 cars. We're all standing on top of the cars. We had it was up on Ergo's land. They have an apple orchard with a mud pit in the back.
Yeah, they did.
So like half of it's a huge circle, like a track, like a race track.
Right.
And half the track's mud, and the other half is whatever. So that was after that was before the race. So all those people got into 4 cars.
Right.
And then we raced around in circles. So
all the dudes.
Girls were there. Not many. There's probably only
2.
I don't know, 10 girls.
Right. Yeah.
But it was I didn't want to get into the whole story, but that was before the race.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, looking at it now that taking a look at all my friends that I've made through in the 20 years since that photo, that does look like, like just a redneck lynch mob, all dudes, bro time.
Yeah, it looks like like you're
Not a real diverse crowd.
Exotic Ryan and his crew out there.
Yep.
Out there, fucking. Oh boy.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah.
But yeah. So no, there were no girls in that photo.
I could just
but
picture
it
you
seems
running
like your
around with like
Rushmore photo.
cowboy boots on and short shorts with the pockets hanging out, and all those dudes.
Yep. Yeah, they were taking the photo. But so did you crop? Did you crop the girl out of the Mount Rushmore photo, or did you actually take one without her in it?
There was no girl. There was no girl in that photo. That was just the mountain.
I just there's a good point. I had a point to make about this because see, Ange, he went to Mount Rushmore with Vanessa, the girl from our first podcast.
Yeah, she's famous.
She is famous.
Yeah.
For all the wrong reasons.
They're sending me pictures of them together. They took pictures together.
No. No one took any pictures together.
Oh, I have that one. I have the one of both of you.
No, you don't, because it never happened.
She sent it to me.
Yeah.
Along with the caption, like, I think he's warming up to me.
If she sent any
he
pictures
hasn't
to
called me
you,
a retard
it was
in like 45 minutes. That's what she said.
If there was any pictures with me in it, it was just me.
Not on her phone, buddy.
Yeah.
So anyway,
we didn't take no selfies.
So what Josh is going to try to do now is what Trump is doing.
No.
If he sticks to his story and says it never happened, and just sticks to his story no matter what, it's. Are you going to get tired of accusing him and then just stop? Or are you going to try to, to get proof? And how upset is he going to be if I posted the photo of him and Vanessa with Mount Rushmore behind him? Or even better, went behind his back and just gave it to Ange and have him throw it up on your green screen without you knowing about it.
Oh, boy.
The blowback. But, but see, that's what I think, because that's when I hear Trump talk about what a good job he did. I'm like, damn, that kind of reminds me of how Josh rewrites history and tells me how he never went places that he went, or he doesn't know these girls
I didn't
that I'm
say I
talking
didn't
about.
go. I just said that I didn't take no
ruined summer
pictures
tour.
with her. Is all I'm saying. I definitely, you're the one that hooked it up. I knew I went. You kidding me? You're the one that set it all up. It was the old fucking Warner out there. He's like a travel agent. Here, you can ride with Needham.
You know what I mean? But
you can ride out there with Needham if you want.
Know when enough is enough, man.
No,
and what's it going to take?
I believe
enough's enough. But maybe it's too much. This is too much of an inside joke for the mAng and Neads show.
All right.
You'd have to go back and watch episode 1 of 2020 to get the good stuff.
Right.
Evolved.
But it's I caught that Ange. I caught that clip you played earlier. I was just tuning into that propaganda video.
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is you can say anything you want unless you put the relativity of the timeline and all. It's all. There's so many moving parts and confusing. But the bottom line is that he put finances and his awesome economy up above the people, man.
So if we're getting into shit like this, Warner, I remember that
I'm tickled by how funny this is.
I remember that back in 2016 you were leaning towards Trump.
I voted for him.
Exactly.
You bastard.
Exactly.
That's what I mean. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck this guy. Let's see. It's basically what people are being accused of now, like wishing the economy would crash. Like, oh, you want this virus to be bad. You want this. That was my vote for Trump. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck Hillary Clinton. Excuse my language. But I was like, Hillary was just awful to me. And Trump just seemed like he didn't know any better. Like he was just like, oh, I'll give it a shot. I'm good with numbers. I'm a good negotiator.
Well,
I'm like, yeah, send him in there and let him negotiate because all he wants is money.
Yeah, but
if Hillary Clinton wants like power and corruption, but I was naive to what Trump would become.
Well, I mean, okay, let me ask you this: were you aware that like he didn't even write The Art of the Deal? That he had a co-writer, and that so he's a guy that like it's even that claim to fame of like, oh, best-selling book. You didn't write a book. You like dictated and had some other guy turn it into words. And if you listen to that guy talk about Trump, that guy just says the dude is pathetic. And this is like all the way back to his claim to fame of The Art of the Deal, which is
So are you?
But that's why. But I knew about it all. I knew about the contractors he stiffed. I knew about his casinos.
But it
what I mean? I knew about that.
Again, it's because
he bid on, and then a hurricane was coming or something, and then he it's like
even
I knew about all that.
Go to the 9/11, right? Well, they're cleaning up, and he says, "Oh, my building used to be the second biggest building. Now it's the biggest building." In
but it
Manhattan."
wasn't though.
Even that. But what I'm saying is he had to throw in that.
But he was lying too, though. So not only did he throw it in there, he lied when he threw it in there.
Because it wasn't the second tallest.
Nah.
Yeah, but
it wasn't.
But that's where. So when I did, I was all about it. I mean, I wasn't all about it. I was like everyone else. No one knew. The only people knew that I was supporting Trump were other Trump supporters. But as far as everyone else knew, you don't say that shit out loud.
I happen to know, and I don't.
I just thought it was funny. You know what I mean? I was like, oh man, let Trump be president. You know what I mean? Like, wait till you see the look on Hillary's face. And I didn't like how they, Hillary's relation with Big Pharma, and I didn't like how she laughed when she was accused of things. Like, she just laughed it off. To me, that's still
all right.
Hillary's laugh.
We had to choose between the lesser two evils.
Yeah, but listen,
and it was stupid.
But you grew up in the 90s.
Saying that's a nasty question.
Yeah, but you grew up in the 90s, Werner.
Okay, go ahead.
Right?
Go ahead. What's up?
You did the 90s. You grew up in the 90s.
Yep.
Now, you didn't think that for a second anything would be kind of the same like under her as it was under Bill, because they're married and obviously they thought a lot the same about a lot of things. You didn't think for a second that she would be good for like the economy and shit like that, like Bill was?
Oh, no, because it was for me, it was too personal. Like I was so disgusted of her as a person. I didn't even, that's what I relate to with Trump supporters now, to where they still carry that. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like nothing, like that smugness that she has and how she really thought she won it, and she congratulated herself before she's like, I'd like to congratulate the next president of the United States on her birthday, but like I'm saying, the way she laughed about stuff, and there's one particular case where she represented a rapist and she got him off, and she knew he was guilty, and he was basically proven guilty, but it was something small like Miranda rights, or there was a thing where she got him off, and it was such a controversy that someone snuck a recorder and got a secret recording of her talking about it with her colleagues, and she laughed about it. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I remember that.
I don't.
Right. She was just like, oh, and this judge thought, you should have seen the look on the DA's case when I was like, oh yeah, this, Section 3, Article 4 states that, you need this, and that, and you didn't do it, so my client can't be processed.
But that's the job of a defense.
And he's a rapist. He raped like an 11-year-old girl.
Right, which is terrible. But isn't that, that's the job of a defense attorney.
Well,
no matter what.
Exactly.
It's again, like I said, it's just lesser of two evils, because you could find you could just go side by side with different quotes of people showing
like
that
they all fucking lie and suck, though. If you,
that's
what I mean, every single fucking one of them.
You couldn't break it down to that. You had to break it down to, in the end, who was
who's less of an idiot?
Who was like a true mad. I don't know. You're right. It was a tough call.
Well, see, the X factor is what got me, because you know what you were going to get with Hillary Clinton.
It's the same shit they're doing this year. They just should have put up Trump against Bernie. Let's see who fucking wins. Period. But they couldn't handle it.
That'd be
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be too much of a happy ending. You know what I mean? It really would.
Nope.
It's proven that all the
Bernie
policies,
wouldn't win.
All the policies.
Bernie wouldn't have a chance.
He would right now. If he was the guy right now, you're trying to tell me every single one of his policies wouldn't be the people jumping on.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's not. He doesn't have a chance to beat Trump. No way.
He does, right, dude? If he was the one picked, he would have won.
He would not. No way.
Trump? I think he would.
No, he's not. He won't get the African American votes. He will not beat. He will not beat fucking Trump, man. Sad as it is to say, there's no way in hell.
So again, it's just so we're circling back to saying that we're gonna have a rapist, and that's what we're gonna. That's what.
Well, we already got one.
That's what I'm saying. So we're putting aside all these things that we're agreeing, like the reason why, the reason right there that
I'm just
that
telling
Ryan
you what the
said
fuck
he didn't
America's
vote
gonna
for
do.
Hillary. Then you have to line that up against everybody. And that's what I'm saying, is that we're just in another situation where there's no way that Joe Biden is going to convince the public that he's not what the Trump claims he is. Whether he's not or is, it doesn't even matter. And it might be the same thing with Bernie, but at least it's a pure policy, and everything in him is you can say whatever, and there's it just in the end, like I said, you're trying to tell me if he wasn't, dude, he's been saying it for everything that Bernie has talked about is now in play. And regardless of whether or not we can afford it, somehow we just afforded $2 trillion to corporations. And
yeah, but he's been saying it for 40 years and it hasn't changed. Like nothing's happened with him though, dude. He can't get any.
The people,
he's
like
got what,
said,
3 things done? Nobody wants to get him in there though, Ange.
It's not true. Either way, like that's what I'm saying. He's got 3 things done. You're just pulling up those same talking points that are trying to bring people down when it's not even accusing him of being a rapist. You're accusing a guy that has fought everything, every step of the way, of being of equal to being like the rapist or equal to being the all.
Well, in all fairness, Joe hasn't ever been charged with rape. In all fairness,
he's a creepy fuck.
He is, but in all fairness, like.
He's so creepy.
He is. But there's a but there. He's never been charged with anything.
Well,
gets charged, man.
Somebody
you think you can charge Joe Biden?
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? It has to be so. It would have to be.
Well,
so
fucking
over the
Bill
top,
Cosby
videotape.
Bill Cosby didn't think he could get fucking charged either, but you know what I mean.
So
he did it. Bill Cosby.
I think Trump's up to 47 allegations and people that have come forth, and he's not. He has never been accused. He's never been charged. You can say the same thing about him. So it's everybody. The way it is now is that. Yeah, man.
I just know that when you
haven't heard
run,
anybody accusing Bernie of rape.
Bernie, because Bernie don't do shit. That's his
thing.
He
don't rape people. That's
he don't
cool.
do anything.
He don't do anything.
You know what I mean? Come on.
But listen,
the VA bill.
Back to the original point. Well, not the original point, but just what I was getting at with Trump is like. The fact that just Hillary's laugh was really, and I'm being honest, as a a self-proclaimed intelligent person, I'll admit that that's the only reason why I didn't vote for her, because I just didn't like her, something in my gut.
Right.
And yeah, you can't change that. Like your gut feelings, you can't change that. Your brain has no capacity for language when it comes to your gut feeling. You can't convince yourself otherwise. You know what I mean? You have to feel it. It's the same reason you can't convince yourself you're not scared of spiders. If you're scared of spiders, you can't see a graph and a chart and have someone explain to you why they shouldn't be scary. And you're like, oh, I understand now. I'm not afraid anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Part of your brain that makes decisions has no capacity for language. And that's what's happening with Trump, man. It's like the fact that I didn't like Hillary made me a Trump supporter. And then, I was give him a shot. Let's see how it goes. And I had fun with my new Trump friends. That are like, yeah, this is going to be whatever. And then it didn't take long before, I was like, I'd be talking to my friends where we used to be like, yeah, this is going to happen. And then the conversation would change. And then I watched them have the same attachment to Trump or disattachment to whatever, you know what I mean? To where no matter what happened, they were on board with Trump. No matter what he said, no matter what he did. And slowly I gravitated away because I looked around and I was like, this isn't right. But then you can't say that to them. You can't tell your Trump supporting friends like, oh, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that, because then they pick up the talking points. They know what to say, and it's not a conversation anymore. It's a war, and you have a certain amount of artillery, and so do they, and that's what it came to. But it's their I don't know. You can't convince them otherwise. And it's so crazy. So as soon as something comes up, any reason whatsoever, like this propaganda film of how he did a great job, it's solidified in their heads. Like, people watch that video with no scrutiny whatsoever, and they agreed 100%, and they've already shared it. And that is history now. Like, that's the truth for all those people. And it's amazing to me, and I would be ignorant to it and be like, oh, these people are stupid or whatever, but all it really means to me is that they believe something in their core about, about Trump. And it's you're not gonna show facts and figures and death tolls and rates, and nothing's gonna change their mind, and nothing like that. The only thing that is gonna change their mind is you got to change their gut feeling, and it's I don't have an answer to it, you know what I mean? But it's for me it happened just because he's fucking deplorable, man. And if you don't stand up for your mistakes, if you can't say I made a mistake, it's my bad, that one's on me, once, ever, and just, and then all your cronies get up and congratulate you the first 20 minutes of every speech. Let's get Mike Pence up here to lick my balls a little bit, and,
It's true.
How about someone else? Anyone else have something good to say about the president? And another thing, all these video clips, that's fucking blackmail. Trump, and this is a fact, Trump has not supplied everyone with 100% of what they asked for. Not even close.
Right, but he said he didn't.
Not a single governor got everything they asked for.
Right, he said
my speculation is he gave them a little bit.
He did.
He's like, there you go. Maybe you can thank me. Maybe in your next press conference, when you thank me.
Their reason was they didn't need everything.
Thanking me. We'll make sure that if you are appreciative enough, we'll send you the rest, or we'll try to send you more. But we got to make sure we get that video clip. And sure enough, man, they used everything, and that's all they had. If they had one more clip of one more person saying something, they would have used it. But they got that because you have to kiss the ring in order to get more aid. That's all that video is.
Right.
Is all these people that want more aid, and they're playing the game. You don't beat your boss in golf. You know what I mean? You let him win, and that's what they're doing, man. They're letting him win. That's a Rudy Giuliani quote. But they're letting him win, and he's taking advantage of it and using it for spin. You think with as long as his press conferences are, if they had 5 more governors saying what a tremendous job Trump is doing, he would leave it out? And the fact that he said he had thousands more or whatever. He's like, we got tons more. We got tons more.
That's what he said right afterwards. If that wasn't enough, we have endless footage we can show you.
Endless footage.
That means to me, that just proves that there is no more footage. Because he said there was. And that's where I am with Trump, man.
Trump, man.
Word. No,
he won the
I've been there. From the moment I heard Trump was running, I thought it was just a complete and utter joke.
See, I liked it because, I grew up listening to rap, and, Donald Trump was like, he was a lyric in a lot of rap songs. And then also, like, just different aspects. Like, he was always, I don't know, who's the guy that did Def Comedy Jam?
Russell Simmons?
Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons is a big fan of Donald Trump, and I remember him talking about him, back in the day. He's like, hey, yeah, I like Donald Trump. He's cool, man. He gets a new limo, and he's like, hey, Russ, come here, check out my limo. Look out, hey, isn't that cool? And Russell Simmons coming from the rap world, and even though he's pretty down to earth and wears like wooden beads, he understands the come up, and bragging about it, and that's kind of what rap is about. And when you do it the right way, and you really do make money on your own, or do whatever on your own and brag about it, there's something to be said about that. because it's a real hustle and it's, you know, it needs to be commended, and rap does it really well. And that was Donald Trump to me. You know, I like The Apprentice. I watched The Apprentice. I thought it was cool.
Huh.
And but I still knew he was a fucking shyster.
That's the whole point. Is why would it be any different in any other circumstance that he's always been the same? It's just I don't get it.
My idea is that, and it's kind of true, but it didn't really work out, is that a real politician, right? Like a real politician, just like a real ladies' man, is a fucking scumbag. But they're even more of a scumbag because they know how to hide it perfectly, to where you just don't know. Like, not like Eddie Haskell, not to where you're like, this person's up to something, but, you know, a real good politician makes you feel all warm and bubbly inside and still slits your throat. And
Right.
Trump didn't have the ability for it. So I just thought he would be more transparent. Like, he wouldn't be able to, you know, to hide. Plus, he was pretty one-sided. That was the first president that's done that. Most presidents try to get both, you know, even Bush. It was after, you know, he wanted to be liked by everybody. He didn't put his foot down. And
Bush is a fucking
you know,
idiot.
yeah, he's horrible. But at the same time,
Both
he was
of
never
them.
like, you know what, you're a Democrat, we're not giving you anything. You know what I mean? He never did that. He always, you know, he was not a good politician, but he played the game. And that's what I thought.
You should play both
Trump
sides.
won't be able to play the game. And he'll just make it about numbers, like numbers don't lie. You know, like, I want this much for this much, and here's the stats and whatever, but
Oh, he's playing numbers, but he fucking fixes the
Really?
numbers. He lies about the numbers.
Yeah. Oh, so bad. I didn't see that coming.
Huh.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see. I have never seen anyone lie. See, that's another thing. Politicians will probably lie just as much as Trump. They're just better at it.
Shoot,
You know what I mean? He lies like an 8-year-old. He lies like someone who's never gotten in trouble for lying.
Right.
No consequence to his lies.
Right.
You know? But I'm used to, if you lie and get caught, trouble. So you better be good. You know what I mean? It's harder to. No, it's not my dad. Someone else said it, but it's a father thing. It's harder to cheat than it is to just pay attention and do the job. You know, it's harder to cheat and not get caught, or to get away with it. You know,
Yeah,
you're
'cause
not-
you always have to
it's
keep
like-
track of
it's
your
supposed to be an
bullshit.
insult. You're not smart enough to cheat.
You got to keep track of all your lies and all your bullshit, and it eventually catches up to you. But if you can just look it straight in the eye and say, nope, that didn't happen, regardless if there's a video or anything else, then
Yeah, who's Vanessa, right, Josh?
No, hey, I know Vanessa. I just
Oh,
was
she has a
saying.
name now?
I just was saying there was no selfies or no pictures of. Yeah, that's all I was saying.
You guys
That's all.
remember when you drove past that barn that said maize on it?
I don't remember that one, but I'm sure if you know about it, I'm sure it happened.
Well, I was going to say, because you didn't send me that picture, but
Definitely not. I'm not a picture sender.
somebody did.
Yeah, and I was in it.
No, I didn't
Yeah,
know that. You know, I
exactly.
figured you would have
Yeah.
known about it.
No,
But
man.
she sent it to me. Be like, we're having a great time. He eats sushi an awful lot.
Yeah. Fucking.
He loves Axe body spray.
Yeah. Oh shit! That's you. You're the one that has the Axe body spray in your.
I'll tell you what, for everyone at home, all the 43 people that are going to watch this, they're going to know that room that Josh is sitting in smells fantastic. It smells like Hollister.
Yeah,
like
something
when you
like that.
walk into Hollister.
Yeah.
Yep, it makes you like. Every time I got in the van, because my van, like, I don't wear cologne, I don't wear anything like that. I put deodorant on, you know, enough, but
You
just
wear
for me, you know what I
something.
mean, to where you can't really smell it.
You got
The
something.
van always
You
smells
do
like
have
whatever's in the van.
Axe body spray in your.
But when Josh is in the van, it smells like Hollister, and it just seems like
It's not
I don't know,
Hollister though.
it's more
But-
upbeat. And you got to agree with me, right? Like, just having him around, it's almost like a breath of not fresh air, but like exciting new air, like casino. Josh smells like a casino.
Well, you know, with
One
our
that you
new
can't
social
smoke in.
social distancing guidelines, I try to keep away from them. But yeah, if I can smell him,
If
I
he
think I'm
breathes
too
by
close.
you, it'd have to. Oh, that's a good thing, man. If you smell Josh, you're too close.
Yeah. Social
His cologne
distancing.
can make it to you. Jesus, that's a scary thought.
through the
Hey,
walls.
you know, that reminds me, because I've been thinking about you lately in our talk
bet.
about the
when he's laying in bed.
in our aerosols, right? And the whole worry about that. And all of a sudden I started thinking, what if this thing somehow, like I was bringing up the concept of like a fan. If there's a fan and somebody's got it and they're like standing in front of it, is the fan going to like break it down quicker and like kill it? Or is the fan just going to blow it another 30, 40 feet? And then, so now you're getting into like duct systems and like how, you know, in like, old age homes and hospitals and shit like that.
Circulated air, yep.
Where,
Thing with a central air system.
so I guess that would be the ultimate worst case pandemic that we could get in, you know?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. See, I didn't know. I thought, because I remember when I called in, and when you told me, you're the one that told me it was aerosol. And when you said aerosol, I heard airborne. And I was like, no, it is not. Like, I remember I watched that episode not too long ago, and I straight up, I was like, you got your information wrong, it's not airborne. But then you kept talking about it and this and that, and then you either played something or read it, but it was aerosol. And, yeah, that is, I mean, it's the same idea. If someone walks by, like, my room, and then after they're 20 feet down the stairs, like if it was Josh, he'd be 20 feet away, and then I would smell his Axe body spray.
Right. Well, here's the other one.
That's
How about
not
you're
good.
in like you get in a situation and you can like you're in a room and you can just smell somebody's breath from like 5 feet away. I mean, you know, I mean it's it happens, you know.
Yep, that meth mouth, man, that carries around.
Ooh, mountain mouth. That's what you're getting.
Mouth. Mountain.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, like
Josh used to say that when I bought Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
We're trying to get no mountain mouth, huh?
Mountain mouth out there.
I can't pass it up in a can though.
Oh, yeah. It's not good to drink it out of a bottle, but the can, it's better. It doesn't do anything to your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's that's why like I'm always like we talk about this too. How you get self-conscious wearing a scarf. You know what I mean? Like it's like, you know, are people going to think I'm being overreacting or whatever? They're going to look at me funny, this and that. But man, when you walk into like a Dollar General, that place is sucking up and pumping out air from within. You know, I mean, it's got a filter, but still, it's circulated air.
Yeah.
You know, or even fans, you know, blowing it around, or it makes me wonder, like, how long
it makes me wonder.
it'll linger, like in an aisle. Like even if you're walking down an aisle that no one's there, God forbid they sneezed.
Well, and that's where it makes us concerned because we see like these street cleaners and all these people, you know, blasting, you know, everything 20 feet up, and like you're just thinking, how can this be sitting on there and just staying alive, waiting for what? The wind to blow, waiting for, you know, what? You know, so
That's a good question. You know, but I would definitely say, man, that the only thing that's going to break up the virus other than time,
Trump,
like exposure, is our president, Donald Trump, is, you know, like the chemical bonds need to be broken by like soap, bleach, you know, alcohol, like it has to get in there, separate the virus, like it splits it up. But so I think that floating around, like it's only, you know, however long, because they're saying surfaces, like a hard surface, it stays over a week.
No.
Do you have any stats? That'd be a good one to get.
24 hours, right? 42
yeah,
hours?
everything's like 24 and 42, but you're saying, I mean, they obviously must be somehow testing that theory.
Oh, yeah.
But
well, it's not,
again, what if we're not given the whole truth and it really lasts longer? And that's why, you know, they're even like, stay inside. You'll be arrested if you leave.
Yeah, and they're closing down the parks, you know. Like you would think they'd let you out into a park and practice social distancing, like park, you know, every other spot, and, you know, don't walk within 6 feet.
Yeah, but if you let someone do that, they're too dumb to be able to do that, and they don't have the people be out there babysitting you, so they just tell you no.
Yeah, and on that note, that's why Trump would get reelected. Unfortunately, you know, the reason that the three of us are friends in the whole community that we're in, like, in all the options and everything like that is, you know, like, because we have similar thought processes, you know, we have similarities, but there are more people that their similarity is like that. I hate to say it, man, you know,
Go ahead.
I get beat
It's
up in the
not
streets, but just, you know, the ignorant, that feeling like it's all about them and their views and how they want the world. And then when they meet other people, they're like, I want just what you want. Like, yeah, let's shout about it and demand it and support Trump.
Sounds like,
you know, and then it's your way, and everyone else, you know, you can move out of America if you don't like it. You know, this is our America. There's more people like that, I think, than us. You know what I mean? That, like, and I'm not saying I'm an advocate for anything. I don't think about other people all the time. You know what I mean? But when I'm faced with, like, political, you know, concerns and stuff like that, I don't just think about my well-being. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I don't do shit for anybody else. You know, I do little charities and stuff like that, but it's nothing.
Oh, I know.
You know, I'm not a fucking advocate, but I'm never just out for my interests and what I want and what's best for me. You know, but I think that the majority of the people, even around here, and I'm not saying anything about education, but I'm saying, you know, like, the idea of education or the ability, like, to just to think about things, you know what I mean, or have an informed opinion about things. It's that people don't want to, and that type of person is just going to go with the flow, and the flow is Trump.
Huh.
You know, and it's not like we expect people to be like, how is this happening? You know, why can't this? You know, how is no one saying something about this, or why aren't more people upset? And I think it's because we're the minority. You know what I mean? It's like the unfortunately. You know, now that Bernie doesn't have the Democratic nomination, it's kind of obvious.
Well, you have to earn it.
Biden is so not the right guy,
huh?
And he got it anyway. So it just
I haven't even heard from that guy since he secured the nomination after a couple Super Tuesdays.
Yeah,
you don't even hear from him. He's just hiding away. They got him locked up.
It's a pandemic. Well, he don't want to get the fucking thing. He'll die. He's old.
No, I don't know. My point is he's not out there being a leader. I said that, like, previously.
Well, what do you want him to do, man? It's a pandemic. You should not be out fucking doing what Trump does in these meetings where you're supposed to talk about coronavirus and he's out there making it like it's a fucking rally.
Yeah, but if you're going to be the president, you got to give people a reason. Like, as soon as you start to run, or as soon as you have the nomination, you have to show people this is why you're going to vote for me. I hear
not in the middle of a pandemic, though. There's
you're just supposed to just be quiet and
until it's time to go again. Like,
so should he be tweeting? Should he be no interviews, no tweeting? Just stay quiet and wait for your moment. Everybody's going to hate Trump. I think he's relying on a total failure in this pandemic to them just be. He's just going to walk in and take it.
It's going to help. I think it's going to help. Trump's not doing very good. I just don't think Bernie should be talking. Yeah, he's a senator still.
He does.
Yeah, and he talks. He's a senator still. But Biden isn't anything right now. He's just Joe Biden.
He's just the ex-vice president.
Yeah, that's it. He's like retired.
He is.
He should stay that way.
But he's not gonna.
I bet he's sick.
Nah, he's not sick. He said something the other day. He did apologize to.
He hasn't come out.
He did warm up to Trump. He said something. I don't know exactly.
I just feel like the big thing is that if you want to go up against him, you need to have as much power of the people that he does. So whether or not it's a percentage, you need somebody out there that's going to fight for your ideals the way that Trump's do. And that's where he's getting most of his success. And that's kind of, again, why I go back to.
I just think
there's nobody like. I'm not going to be going online and defending the accusations against Joe Biden for sexual misconduct.
Don't worry. I read a few things about the news networks, and they fucking were going nuts or whatever, that they went into it and they looked it over. And
what about Sniffy Joe?
Yeah. And from everything, and those guys get
and you think
background
about it,
on people. Those
the
news
whole
networks.
Ukrainian thing isn't over with yet. That's going to be coming up again and again, and it's already got the traction, and he's already won the supposed case against him, and that everything he did was right. I mean, come on, man. It's like that's not going to go away. That's going to be the lock him up is the new line. Lock him up. Lock him up.
You think that Trump's going to do I don't even think they'll be able to with all this shit going on. But you think he'll do a debate? That's right,
because if I was in charge, you'd be in jail.
Do you think he'll do a debate with
She still
Joe?
isn't in jail, by the way.
Yeah, no shit. Been 4 years.
Do you think?
Listen to this. What do you think about the Postal Service?
Yeah.
What about him?
He's not going to bail out the Postal Service. He'll let them go bankrupt.
I'm telling you, he's not going to get. Joe's going to beat him, man.
And that's because of Bezos. You know, I think there was a thing.
But
Amazon.
Amazon uses the UPS though, or I mean the Postal Service.
He doesn't he doesn't like Bezos and Trump are at odds.
Yeah.
And I think that Trump, like, he ridiculed Bezos for using UPS and not like paying for, you know, FedEx or anything like that. And Amazon is swamping the Postal Service because the reason the Postal Service, like, I can send a tube. If I send a print, an 18-inch by 3-inch tube through UPS, it's like $10, $15. Same thing, Postal Service, it's $8. It's always cheaper with the Postal Service.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But it takes
way
longer.
cheaper, but it's because it's the United States Postal Service, so that it's like supposed to be that way.
Does it take longer?
And is that even with that like a
longer?
shortened delivery, like a 3 to 5 day or something? Like same.
I don't know.
Because obviously, if you're doing overnight with FedEx and UPS, they're charging you big time. I'm just wondering.
Overnight with the post office still costs an arm and a leg.
Right, exactly. So
Standard mail, and
it's just that there isn't
these triangle boxes, the triangle mailers.
Yeah,
you know, they're flat, and you roll them up in a triangle, like, and you put a tube inside of it. So I have 40 of those things for free. They send them to you, free shipping. They show up at your door, or in my instance, the post office. And 40, like 4 packs of 10. I got as many as I could for free, and then I'm gonna, you know, put my tubes in them and send them off. And it's like a standard rate for the size. It just changes, you know, a little bit depending on the weight. But it's a huge thing. Do you know how much that would cost me if I had to buy one?
Do you have Ryan? Do you use Stamps.com?
No.
He does not.
Stamps.com is pretty cool, man, because but here's the thing. So here's the catch. It's a sweet service because you can create your own postage for all this stuff. You just put your dimensions in just like they do when you show up to ship it, and you print the labels out, and you same thing. They'll send you free stamp prints so you can run it through your printer. And you put in exactly what it is, the weight, and it gives you the price, and you stick it on there, and then they come and pick it up. So you don't have to.
Who picks it up?
The Postal Service.
The U.S. Postal Service.
Yes,
the guy that brings your mail to you. You take it with them.
So they basically copied the same way you could do UPS shipping in businesses or FedEx shipping. You get your account, and in that case, it is a monthly charge. It's like $10 a month. But can you imagine the time you're going to save by doing all that yourself?
Shit,
is it worth $10 a month?
It takes me a half hour. Like, I have a deal with the postmaster. Well, she's not the postmaster, but she's the head of our post office.
It's a big one,
and I'll come in like at the end of the day when there's like a half hour left. You know, I get there at like 3:30, and because every time I go in, I'm giving her like, you know, 15 or 20 tubes, and like a lot of times I space it out to where, you know, so I'm not overwhelming her. But if someone gets behind me in line, you know, too bad.
No, man, this way, if you did it this way, you'd print your own labels. The post office guy's bringing your mail anyway.
Yep.
You get the mail?
No. We use post office box.
Oh, you use post office.
Yeah,
okay, so that kind of makes it.
I probably have to get a mailbox.
But you could still print all your labels, just walk down there and hand them to them, as opposed to stand in line, print out the stuff and all that stuff. But no, I mean, I started using it at at MCM a while back, and it was like life, you know, it was so easy. I didn't have to go buy stamps. I didn't have to do, you can print your own stamps, even the normal ones. And then, like I said, you print out your own setup, and it's pretty cool, man. If you go on there, you get like a bunch of free stuff for your like signing up for it. You know, same thing. You get all the boxes, you get all the labels. Some stuff you have to pay, you know, whatever. They try to sell you on different little things too, but like I said, overall it's pretty sweet. You just go in there when you need more.
That just goes to show, like, they're not like these, you know, the Postal Service is not another company out for profits. You know, what you just explained to me is a huge, like, that'd be a big break on my part. You know what I mean? And I barely, I mean, not that I barely use them, but it's not a big aspect of my business, shipping, you know, prints. It's, you know, people that do ship all the time that use the Postal Service, in a month, if they go bankrupt because they've been too busy giving people deals and not raking people over the coals, you know, they need to bail out more than anybody else. They're like the NPR of, you know, the WSKG TV of, you know, of delivery services.
Yeah, and obviously the biggest threat that the post office has is to the private corporations of places like UPS and FedEx and DHL. Is that one even still around?
Yeah, they are, definitely.
You know, all those places that are for maximum profit, as opposed to the Postal Service that is, you know, a public service.
And so what Trump said, and this is loosely, I don't know exactly, but he gave Bezos shit for using the post office. Like, it shouldn't be an option to use the post office, because you think about how many Amazon packages are being shipped, and a majority of them are getting shipped through the post office, and it's weighing down on the post office, and they can't just, you know, charge more and hire more people. They just get bogged down. So since Amazon is on their upswing, the post office has gotten really bogged down. And Trump said something about it, that it wasn't right, but there's nothing he could do. And I think the post office, you know, I don't know how it works, but he was pissed, and it was definitely a talking point between him and Amazon, and that's why he's going to let him go bankrupt. He's like, oh, you know, I told you not to use fucking Amazon, or you know, whatever, and you still did. So this is like a teachable moment for him, from what I understand. Is why he's not bailing out the post office. And it seems like letting the post office go down and go bankrupt would be just an American tragedy to me.
But not to the capitalist lovers of the world that would consider the post. You know, for years we've been hearing about post office is a failure. Anything the government gets involved with, they fail at. Why would we want to give them our health care? Look at what they did with the post office, et cetera, et cetera.
The Dems will step in and do it. Make a bill up.
The what?
The Dems.
The Dems will step up and make a bill to protect the postal workers.
They will. They fucking all just protected everybody else.
Well, yeah, Bezos could buy it for $350 million probably. That would be cool if Amazon bought the United States Postal Service.
And then it was no longer the United States Postal Service.
It'd be Amazon.
The Amazon delivery service.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but talk about evil. You know what I mean? That dude, I can't even remember all the horrible shit I've heard about him in this time. You know, the richest man in the world, and if you worked for him, you know, he's like, just get out and stay out. I'm not giving you anything. You know, you're all temps anyway. You know, and then he's making them come back and work.
He just,
you know, when they open back up,
another 70,000.
Oh my God!
He's hiring people left and right. This is his second run at another. This is another 70,000 he's hiring.
Yeah, Amazon workers are pretty pissed about the way. But like, I saw one guy. He was just so outraged that people that they are still you know, packaging non-essential. They're like, you know, you're putting a dildo in a box to send to somebody in this crisis, and that became essential. You know, it's like, come on now.
It's happened in one of them states that's not locked down, so probably doesn't matter, right? Utah. Out there in Utah, they're getting dildos.
Crazy.
Dude, that whole lockdown thing too, man. You know, if the Pope isn't having mass, how can a church in America still do it?
Well, 7 states are still, or 5 of them are still not completely locked down.
Yeah, but don't they take their orders from the Pope?
No, them fuckers do whatever they want.
Well,
you think
no,
the guy with the handkerchief,
the Catholic religion takes it from the Pope. There's a lot of
not Jehovah.
There's a lot of different churches, obviously, that don't.
Not Jim Baker, the pranker chief guy. He probably doesn't take it from the Pope.
Oh man, I thought of a good meme the other day.
All them those guys all do fucking whatever they want.
Evangelicals, just like anybody. I mean, the thing is it seems like the online churches, which have been so much
Scientology, those dudes.
Online stuff is probably, for the people that really need it. I mean, come on, that's all you need. The local ones are going to be acting just like small business that is just not able to get anybody in. The same as the bars. Same as, restaurants. These are the places where people gather, and they're not allowed to anymore. So if the church wasn't up on having a live stream, then they're behind the game right now, and they're missing out on some hefty donations from their congregate.
Right.
Congregation.
Now, is there any truth to that? They're gonna the relief package is gonna pay the salaries of pastors?
I'm sure.
Ever hear about anything like that? I saw it.
Well, you'd think that if they're exempt from taxes, that they should be exempt from receiving any type of bailout.
Well, none of the cruise lines pay taxes in America, and they got huge bailouts.
Amazon, all these places, but they all claim to have, they write it all off as different donations and things.
Right.
That's how they get away with no taxes.
Boeing.
The individuals still would pay taxes.
Yeah.
But the corporation wouldn't.
I mean.
But that's all based on because they determined that the things that they donated to were worthy of tax deductions.
No income tax.
So you can donate to charter schools or something that's more in your interest than it is in the government's probably. And you get a write-off.
Nothing like a donation. We're accepting donations here.
Huh.
Yes, we are. We don't have anything set up.
You look like you're having a yard sale, Josh.
Yeah, Ange.
You selling any of that?
Oh, I don't know. Some of it's Ange's
It
stuff.
looks like your goddamn dashboard.
Yeah.
Let's talk about my dashboard.
Another excerpt from on the road with Josh. So I have the Ford Transit. It's got a huge dashboard, and it's even got a place for a clipboard.
Biggest thing he's ever had in his life.
Area. And you get Josh behind the wheel for, I don't know, 2 hours. It's not 15 minutes or whatever. And he's got that thing looking like he's lived there for years. I mean, a little 3-pack of donuts,
No, I don't eat fucking donuts. If you're gonna say,
I'm surprised he doesn't have some kind of coffee maker set up there. But
if you're gonna say
this
stories,
is going somewhere too. It's
I don't eat donuts.
You what?
I don't.
No, he doesn't.
I don't eat donuts.
But it's just everything. It's on the dash. I have a thing when I'm driving because it reflects, right?
He's a pussy.
So not only are you looking at the thing on the dash, but the light shining on that is being mirrored on the windshield. So it's you got to see all this shit, and it's crazy.
Yeah, but
laptop up there
you also basically drive with 2 hands, and you're
and he's still a better driver than me, yeah.
And you're all trying to pay so much attention, and you still are all over the place.
I know. That's what I'm saying, man. I have to try my best.
I drive
to not drive as good as you.
And
Josh,
hold on.
Basically, I mean, he'll drive with his feet sometimes. He likes to put his feet up and or pick his toes. I don't know what he's doing.
No. I don't pick the toes.
That's my other passenger.
That was your passenger. I drive. I put my leg. I got long legs, man. I have to stretch. I put the one up. I look out the window a lot, but I drive great.
Yeah, he looks at me, like makes eye contact with me while he's saying something like a joke and pinching my nipples, and still doesn't hit a rumble strip. I can't.
I'm a good driver.
I can't stay away from you. You really are, man. It's no joke. No joke. And trust me, I wanted to bust your balls about how good I was. Like, you know, just to be able to have something to say, like, oh, you think you're all hot shit? I didn't hit any, you know? And whatever.
Yeah, I do fill the dash.
I'm a rumble rider.
I do fill the dash with shit. My van is fucking full of it. Looks like fucking someone's junk drawer.
Well, no, it looks like your table at Sonic Gardens.
But there's more shit in my van.
4 water bottles. There's only 2 up there.
Yeah.
Do you have a candle burning, or is that a flickering from the
green
screen?
He does have a candle.
This is
the
the
candle's
drill.
not lit. The blue one in the middle is.
Yeah, the blue one we didn't light, but the drill you might see that coming on and off.
Yeah, he's got.
Oh yeah, I see that. The blue one, your little thing. That's.
I got a little propeller today.
See his little propeller on the drill. Holy shit, this guy's crazy.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. A cool painting there. What is that? A sloth? Looks dope.
I don't know. Someone stole that fucking idea.
Yeah, that is a
Old
beauty.
Print too.
That's a beauty.
That's a beauty.
Yeah, buddy. But so here's the deal. Josh comes full circle with this scary, because Josh got a blue state van, you know, the like prisoner transport. That's the type of van he drives. And so it's kind of, you know, it looks a little, and I think it's got the bars in the windows, like the chain, not chain. What's that called? It's got the
cage,
the metal barrier.
Yeah, it's got the cage windows, man.
Caged.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at it, it's a little banged up, but not really. But, you know, it's just like, meh. And so let's say you're in a city like San Francisco where you're going to break into a car, like you probably break into like 5 cars a night if you're a homeless person, and there's just so many of them. So it's like, you know, cars get broken into all the time, and Josh is sleeping in this thing. So the van itself is whatever, but then when said burglar would come around to the front and take a look at the dash and just be like, ooh, Jesus, you know, like someone's literally living in here, like they don't leave. And he'll have a big jug of like iced tea, like a Lipton. No, it wouldn't be iced tea, because that wouldn't make sense, because it's filled with urine. It'd be the same. It can't be the same color.
One of them gallon jugs of water, but no water in it.
So
that's your
bathroom.
bathroom.
It would be like a big handle of you know, blue ice Gatorade, you know what I mean? Like something giant filled with piss. Like, why hasn't he dumped it out by now? Doesn't it get heavy to pee in? Like, it's just this gigantic thing of piss, and he puts it right up in the windshield. And so when I saw that, because I was looking for him when we were all in San Francisco, and I walked up, I was like, oh, there's his van, and I wanted to peek through to see if he was in there. And you kind of come face to face with this giant bottle of piss, and you're like, oh, Jesus, you know, like, I don't want, you know, like, and then you kind of back away, like social distancing, man. Josh, OG social distancer.
That's why you're surviving so well.
You're not breaking into that van.
Yeah, that's my theft deterrent. It's like my burglar.
The person in there has no regard for human life, and it's just not. It's the best deterrent. And meanwhile, I have a 2017 Ford Transit with a metallic gray finish and a, you know, aftermarket roof rack in the same fucking city. I had a target on my head, and that's half the reason why I left. I was like, I'm not parking here overnight.
Yeah, I stayed right in a bad part of town too, but
safe.
nothing. They don't even.
That reminds me, man. Like, if you I don't know if you've ever had the question, but you know, if you had a superhero, if you could turn into a fucking superhero, what would it be? I think that turning into like either a trained kid or like a real looked out person would be the best kind of superpower, like practical. Because as soon as you are that person, it doesn't matter who is against you. You're going to stay the fuck away from that person. They're just the scariest looking people. Like, homeless people have nothing on trained kids and real looks, you know. And that's what Josh's van is. It's just a rolling. You know, I don't want don't want to go anywhere near that van.
But if you open the door, it smells good. It
smells like Josh.
Smells good in there. It's great in there. But it does have.
It's clean.
Yeah.
The back is all clean and
Yeah.
organized.
The front's just got a lot of stuff in it.
A lot of personality.
I overpack always because I don't like being unprepared, and that's half of the thing, man. So like if I'm out in the middle of nowhere on the other side of the country and I need something or I think that I'm gonna need it just once, I have it.
Yep.
Right in the
And
van.
that's why you have two 8-count packages of replacement nightlight bulbs on your dash. Because one time you needed one.
Yeah, I always overbuy too.
No, it worked out, man. You did that in the shop, and I still have like pencils and other shit that you bought. Like Josh looked for a pencil, couldn't find one for like 11 seconds, and then he went out and bought like 50 pencils.
Yeah, I hate not having shit that I need and having to go get it when you need it when you're at that spot.
Yeah, I still have razor cutters, the box openers.
Yeah,
he needed one day, couldn't find one fast enough, and then just bought like a strip of them.
Yeah.
10 of them.
Yeah, we need
Yeah, but I tell you what, Andy, that piss in the windshield, if you ever need to, it works on any car. You know, just throw it up there, and it's better than what are those things you put across your driver's wheel?
Oh, the
driver's
fucking
wheel. I don't even know
lock.
that's a word.
Yeah, the steering wheel it is, but driver's wheel. One of them lock thing. I know what you're talking about, but yeah, it would work way better than that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh God.
Yeah. Got it. It worked. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of big cities, man, that are questionable cities.
It's funny. I'm watching it. I got the volume off, but I've still got the podcast going. And it's like, you know, I'm looking at Josh, and I can tell, like, the jokes are landing late, but I can tell when he laughs.
Shit.
You like that little propeller you got, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It hasn't taken off yet, but it's good. It's got a little engine in it. Wing.
Wing, wing. Those have been some good drills. I've had those things for well over 10 years.
Really?
Now.
That's rigid.
Rigid.
No,
rigid.
it's rigid, man.
Rigid.
Yeah, rigid.
I can't see the color.
It's orange.
There are two. I bought two like small ones because I was doing a lot of hanging those TV screens.
Oh yeah.
And so I didn't want a big heavy drill in my hand, but I ended up getting like these 12 volt ones, and one of them was an impact, so you could like literally put on maybe not super tight, but you could get on like start some lugs on your wheels with them,
Oh, lucky.
The old impactor. Dish, dish. So it was kind of cool because I'd have the holster and I'd be able to just climb up there, and a nice light drill you can easily like pull out, and
Yeah, it's pretty light. It's pretty light.
And small.
It's small. It's definitely small.
Small enough to fit on a desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet.
I got a skateboard here.
I became a fan of rigid at that point in my life, and I bought a lot of rigid tools actually.
Huh. I got a hammer here too.
Are they made somewhere else?
I'm not sure. It's a Home Depot. Home Depot.
Porter Cable. I always bought Porter Cable.
Yeah.
And then I recently bought a new Porter Cable drill, and it was just, for one, it looked like a transformer. Like it was just, I don't know. It just looked different for no reason. Porter Cable's always been real practical, but they've always been made in America. Now they're not.
Ooh.
Not a chance.
Exported.
Yeah, and you could tell. It's just different, man. It's strange.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. No, you know the drill I'm talking about, Josh. You have Porter.
You know the drill.
I know.
You know the drill, bro.
I do know the drill. I do. I have Porter.
Yeah, but the difference between like an 80s Porter Cable or 90s or whatever is like it was real streamlined back then. Like the ones I had, they didn't have any flashy molding to make it look like it was a spaceship or anything like that. It's just
Yeah, I have an
straight up
older one and a newer
powered.
one. The older one still works. The newer one still works.
The newer one for me didn't work. That's why I gave you my batteries, or was that your batteries that I used? Either way, mine shit the bed.
God only knows what the fuck you did. Something happened.
I didn't overuse it. I'll tell you that.
Right. Right.
So, you know.
Yeah, maybe it did.
Porter cable.
Porter cable.
Ryobi. There's another one, right?
Ryobi.
See, once you get your 1,000 subscribers,
Yeah.
you could start making affiliate links to stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, if you
I was
did-
thinking
if
that
you
we
did have
gave
it, 'cause I would take your word for it too. Between Josh and you, if you recommended a tool that you used a lot, you know, because I've seen both of you work, and you know, and you have pretty good tool games, you know, where you take care of your shit, you know what works, you know what doesn't. Not like me, where I'm kind of using whatever's available and hoping it works.
Right.
But if you did get your 1,000 subscribers and got affiliate links, man, you could pick up that drill bit. Do you want a little propeller spinner? Do you want a little fidget thing to play
I was
during
thinking
the
we did a
podcast?
pretty
Hey,
good
here,
pitch
link-
on
the link
stamps.com.
below, and it'll take you to Amazon, and you'll get, you know, 5%, 10% of that sale.
Yeah, you would even think the Hammer Company. I was doing.
Oh, that's a beauty right there.
It is. This is an older one.
That's a East
The
Wing.
leather ring, leather wrap.
Yeah,
It's hiding in the. If you bring it down to your chest, you can see it because it's disappearing in the green screen. There you go.
It does have the
There is an East Wing.
Yes,
That's
it is.
legit. That's a legit
Fucking A.
hammer.
Wear safety goggles, Ange.
Yeah, so that's a leather handle.
Yeah, it is.
See, I didn't know that for the longest time. You know, they're little rings put on top of each other and then polyed. I've got one.
They're good hammers for sure.
It was made in Rockford. What state? Michigan? I can't read there's an
East
M.
Wing.
There's an M and then I don't know, Illinois maybe. I don't know. I can't read. It's got a little
Milwaukee.
No, I think it's. I don't know. It's got a little crap on that, but it looks like an 07 head.
Well, guys, we're coming up on 2
Over
hours
2
here.
Yeah, this is made in. Just remember, this is made in the USA, man.
There you go.
Fucking A.
I'm gonna cut to a track here by Monocle and Whiskey doing the Black Seeds hit, or I'm sorry, the Black Keys hit, Lonely Boy. So
Black Keys had hit.
They had quite a few.
Oh, come on.
I'm not real familiar with them.
All right, well here we go. This is Monocle and Whiskey performing.
I have heard these guys. This is
Lonely Boy.
They tear it up.
This
man.
was 3 years ago,
Like
recorded in
homework.
February 2017 at the old Sonic Garden studio. So hope you enjoy this track. We'll be back, close this out, give you guys some last minute
Warner,
updates,
do your homework
and
quick.
we'll go from there. Ryan, thanks for the call, man.
Hey, you got it, man. mAng and Neads Show.
mAng and Neads. Sonic Gardens Radio. All right, we're back here, Sonic Gardens Radio, mAng and Neads Show, and here we are. What'd you think of that one, Josh?
They did it.
Can you hear yourself?
Now I can. You had me shut up.
Oh, did I? Oh, I did on your own thing.
Oh.
Yeah, you were in the system.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they did. He sounded like they did. I'm not real familiar.
They nailed
with
it.
that.
Oh, you don't know that song?
Yeah,
Do you
not
know
real
the band?
familiar.
You know that band? Black
Yeah.
Seeds or Black Keys? We do some Black Seeds songs.
Yeah. Are those? All right. So
The two dudes, the guy that plays the guitar,
I think.
and then there's
Listen,
like a
I'm pretty
drummer.
sure I had to play them. They've been around for a while, right?
Yeah.
12,
They've done probably like,
15 years,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They've
I
done
had
probably 10 albums almost, or 8, something like that.
I had to put them on. Well, I didn't have to, but yeah, basically I did. I had to put them on the radio station.
Oh, wait a minute.
What?
The guy was playing with your buddy Marcus King in that one track. That remember I said, "Holy shit, that's
All
killer!"
right. Yeah.
He was the guy
yeah.
sitting there with him as the lead singer of Black Keys. Yeah, phenomenal.
They had that one album with the little caravan, right? And yeah, I know. I had to program through the radio station up there when I worked up there.
Yeah, I imagine they were hot in those days. I'm sure.
I haven't really ever listened to them though. But that's they do. That band does good with that song right there.
Yep.
Pretty good, man.
For sure.
They rock it, right? It sounds
yeah.
like they rock it to me. They get rocking.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
they got a 5-piece band, and I think typically the song is just the 2-piece. You know, but that guy, they're phenomenal. They're like really good the way they.
He can get that Wheeler kid can get right in the bottom of his voice too. He does good with the.
Yeah, singing from the diaphragm.
Yeah. Oh, from the cheeks. All right.
So yeah, let's just give a little
dinner time.
It is starting these late ones. You're all ready for dinner.
Oh, well, we've been going for a while here.
Yeah. Going on to 2 hours.
Yeah.
So just giving a little quick update here with our.
You're updating them, huh? What are you updating them on?
I'm pulling up the data right next to you. We got
boy.
worldwide cases. It looks like we are just under 8,000 cases from hitting 2 million total.
Oh boy.
There are 51,000 people in serious or critical condition worldwide right now.
A lot of death in the USA today.
USA has this has got to be the top day.
2,216.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So so much for that, as well as increased cases.
So they're right though. It's flatlining, but it's flatlining at 2,600 about.
Right, which you know we've all said this is going to continue. Shit, I'm like scrolling through.
What have you done?
Well, I'm just making everybody dizzy.
Oh.
So 610,632 cases in the United States, 25,856 deaths. 40% of the closed cases are deaths in the U.S. But down to that the caseload, daily new cases.
Did you know?
Yesterday was 26,000, and it looks like our peak day was 34,000. So we're still up there. The deaths dropped, but after today, today will be the new highest day of deaths. Because the last one was 2,035, so it's already past that.
Well, 68 people have tested positive in Shenango County.
Oh, really?
Seriously. They've tested 397 total.
And any deaths? Have any deaths been claimed?
I do not.
I do believe I did hear someone did die.
No. In Shenango County?
In Shenango County.
Jesus.
So I'm just not sure if that's calculated in there.
I do not see it. I'll have to get my resources out for tomorrow.
All right. Well,
mAng and Neads Show.
That's all we got.
Fucking A. We'll bring you up and then fucking tear you down with some bad shit at the back here.
That's it.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. You know, a little banter. We got a call in from good old Ryan Warner.
Oh, yeah, the great one.
Haven't seen him in quite a while, man. It's so crazy how the time lingers on, and it's just been so long since we've seen each other and done those things that we
we haven't seen him in so
typically
long.
do.
He's been posting pictures with about 18 other dudes with their shirts off.
Remembering the
remembering years gone by. Back in a cornfield.
Oh, the donuts thing. When you guys brought up donuts, I thought about a meme or whatever. It was something somebody shared, and you know how you get the people that are they're always telling you how much sugar is in soda.
Oh yeah.
Well, they put out like a meme that had like a bottle of soda, and it showed like has as much sugar as like, and it had a stack of like 8 donuts next to it, right?
Oh really?
So then one of the comments, the fun thing that made it funny was the comment underneath it was, "What this graph teaches me is donuts are a lot healthier than I thought they were."
I think I saw that. That is funny.
It is good. 'Cause you're like, oh,
shit.
Jesus. I drink a soda like nothing. I get 6 donuts.
Huh.
Ain't so bad.
I don't drink soda or eat donuts. I could eat a donut though. Maybe I'll eat one since I didn't know they were that healthy. I don't drink soda though, but yeah.
Didn't know they were that healthy.
Yeah, I did not know they were that healthy. Once in a great while, if I'm having some rum, I'll have soda with it. But I don't have rum that often.
Okay.
So.
I actually my new drink.
Well,
that
tell me.
I enjoy.
Do tell.
I like a Sprite with vodka. But
vodka
here's the
and
twist.
Sprite,
Put a little cherry vodka in with it. Just a little bit. A little touch
nip
on
of
top.
cherry.
And then you got cherry and Sprite or cherry ginger ale. That's a great one.
I used to like ginger ale a
Delicious
lot. I'm
drink.
sure I still do like ginger ale, but I just don't drink it. But yeah, I like ginger ale. If I'm into drinking soda, which I'm not, but yeah.
Yeah.
A little nip of cherry in there, huh?
What can you do?
Yeah, when your world is a little nip of it.
All right, so I'm gonna close it out. I'm just
All
gonna give
right.
you guys a song,
Fucking
another
barn
song
burner.
to close this one out. We're gonna give you another Chaka tune.
Ooh.
I'm gonna give you guys No Tomorrow because
I haven't heard that one.
So again, hopefully, this is the only, just a reminder, this is the only place that you find the music that we play here. There is nowhere else that this is available except
Unless you're
for
searching.
our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So once again, if we can get some subscribers, 1,000 subscribers, that would be great. It would move everything, advance our following, and move us into the next realm. And we get more bands, more recordings, more music on this show, and we're going to be around long after coronavirus has disappeared.
Yeah,
Just
because we were
trying to
here
keep this thing
before it.
going. We were.
Motherfucker.
And so, thanks again for all the support out there. This one is called No Tomorrow. Original song by Chaka.
mAng and Neads Show.
Sonic Gardens Radio.
Perfect for this day and age. You don't know how many people are going to survive Corona. So live life like there's no tomorrow.
been soaked up all the pain. Hit the bottom, but I'm rolling in my grave. I can't take more of this sorrow. I'm up to my ears. I know that it ain't easy to let go of all the pain you hold inside, even when it seems there's no tomorrow. You can hold the ones you love, never let your feelings lose the battle, because the fight has just begun. Hold inside, even when it seems there's no tomorrow. You can hold the ones you love and never let your feelings lose your battle.